Back in 1985, it was kind of a big deal that 3D films were still popular. We had a deluge of films in the early 80s like Amityville 3D, Jaws 3D, Space Hunter, The Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin. And in 1985, a little animated film came along that was touted as being the first in 3D, came along called Starchaser, The Legend of Orin. Now, I thought it was a big deal that there was an animated 3D movie. I thought that was really cool. Now, back in the day, remember in the early 80s, there was no such thing as internet, and for sci-fi fans and movie fans like myself, we could only get our news and hear about movies through magazines like Starlog and Cinefantastique and Fantastic Films and Fangoria. And I distinctly remember seeing an ad for Starchaser in probably on the back page of Starlog, so I knew it was coming. And then when I finally saw it in the papers to see it's actually playing, had to go see it with my friends, so we did. And one thing that really surprised me was how blatantly this was a ripoff of Star Wars, and I kind of laughed at that. And looking back, I am like rather stunned that the movie still managed to get made and released. I mean, there are a lot of elements in there that you recognize from Star Wars. I mean, maybe it was just different enough from Star Wars that Lucasfilm didn't pull the trigger and throw a cease and desist order on them. But despite the fact that at the time I was a diehard Star Wars fan, this is obviously a couple years after Return of the Jedi, I still enjoyed the hell out of Starchaser, The Legend of Orin. Now, The Legend of Orin follows the story of Orin, who on this planet, Mind World, they're living in a subterranean world underneath the surface, and they're basically mining, and they're slaves. And while they're digging in the mines, Orin comes across a hilt. A hilt that holds grave importance that could signal the freedom of all the slaves working in Mind World. Now, the one person who wants that hilt more than anything is Zygon, the evil overlord, who in many ways passes off as the Darth Vader of the Starchaser franchise. Well, it wasn't a franchise because obviously they didn't make more, but they could have if it was a success. And obviously Orin is the Luke Skywalker type. So basically, events unfold that Orin manages to escape with the hilt, and he makes his way to the surface trying to find help to free his people. And in the process, he comes across the many denizens of the surface, on the surface of Mind World, and a bunch of other people like Dag Dabrini, who flies the Starchaser. Yes, the film's title is derived from the name of a ship. Think Star Trek Enterprise. Well, Starchaser is the name of the ship. The Legend of Orin is the story. So that's where the title comes from. And not just Dag Dabrini, but also other people like who else is there? Arthur, who is the AI of the Starchaser, and Silica, who is a droid that they come across, and Elan, who serves as the Princess Leia type. I believe she is in fact a princess, and she goes along on the adventure. So this band of heroes come together, and they head back to Mind World to defeat Zygon and free the slaves and of Mind World, and to bring peace and justice back to the galaxy. Oh, that's a different franchise entirely. So yeah, it sounds like I'm basically carping on the movie because it's too much of a Star Wars rip. But like I said, I had fun with this movie. I loved the animation. It's very Don Bluth-esque. The film is directed by Steve Hahn and was written by Jeffrey Scott. Scott had a hand in writing TV shows like Dungeons and Dragons and Mask, and Hahn was involved in like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the real Ghostbusters. besides being in 3D, which is awesome, and just any animation in 3D looks great. Remind you, this predates the standard of 3D as we see it today. This is the old school 3D, and it looked great from what I remember. And also, the film is presented in a 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio, so it's letterboxed when you watch it on DVD, and the wide aspect ratio just really captures that look of the like say Star Wars or Star Trek, and I love the fact that they had the widescreen frame, and they filled every frame with something, and it looked really cool. There were a lot of even though I said there's like a lot of seemingly derivative Star Wars moments in there. There are some funny stuff in there that I found amusing, and I don't want to say what it is, but there's a moment that always gets me chuckling, even though I know it's coming. But there are like many other great things. Like one of the things that I loved about it is the score that was by Andrew Billing, signed by Andrew Billing, and I'm probably one of the few people on the planet who has the CD of the soundtrack and the DVD. And I think I got the one sheet lying around somewhere. So that's how much I like this movie. You could even say it's a guilty pleasure, but I liked it, so it's not a guilty pleasure for me. So I find it enjoyable. But Starchaser: The Legend of Orin, despite the fact that it seems like a derivative Star Wars ripoff, is a pretty entertaining and well animated feature. And it's got some great sequences that look great in 3D. Obviously, it's not going to look as good in 3D now because you can only see it in 2D. Unless they release, hopefully one day they release a 3D version of the film on home video. And it's got a great score, some memorable characters, and I'm guessing it was probably one that just was completely forgotten. Like I said, it's been 30 years, and this one's been just like put on the wayside and thrown in the cheap bin at the long forgotten video stores. So if you have the opportunity, I would say yeah, fine. If you see it and check it out, Starchaser: The Legend of Orin. I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's an entertaining and fun animated sci-fi movie, despite the fact that it's kind of like Star Wars, but whatever. So, have you ever heard of Starchaser: The Legend of Orin? Have you seen Starchaser: The Legend of Orin? Who's your favorite character? What did you think of the movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I'm curious to find out, so please comment below. If you like my Throwback Thursday review, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, so you can stay on top of my reviews as they come in and other Throwback Thursday reviews as they come in. So, until next time, we'll see you at the movies.